Welcome. I'm Catherine Temple from GoCampbellRiver.com, and welcome to In Conversation With. Paris Gaudet is here to talk to me about Innovation Island. She is the Executive Director of Innovation Island, and for some reason, I have seen Paris everywhere. I think that last year I saw you in Vancouver, and then I saw you in Sechelt, then I saw you in Nanaimo, then I saw you in Courtenay. So what are you doing?
I know, I seem to be everywhere.
You're everywhere.
So Innovation Island, we're a regional nonprofit organization. So we work with tech entrepreneurs, and so anybody that's kind of creating some new innovation. We have an office in Nanaimo, but we cover all of Vancouver Island, Catherine. So that's probably why you see me everywhere. So that
puts you in Sechelt also?
It does, yeah. The Sunshine Coast is included in our nonprofit region. So that's why you see me there too.
So what exactly is it that you do? You sponsor or foster innovation?
Exactly.
Does that mean like if I want to go in there and I want to make some crafts or something like that, you're going to do that?
Probably not. Probably not. So our whole mandate is around supporting tech entrepreneurs. We are supported through the BC Innovation Council, so they're a Crown agency with the Ministry of Tech and Innovation, and they have partners all around the province that make sure that there's technology and innovation taking place outside the larger city centers.
Oh,
and so what we do is we work with organizations throughout our region, whether it's chambers or young professionals, economic development offices, and help foster innovation by helping entrepreneurs get their ideas out the door to market and grow and scale.
Okay, so if I was a tech entrepreneur, which I just happen to be.
I know, how convenient is that?
How convenient is that? And I thought that I needed some help with my business. What would be the process that I would go through to connect with you guys and get involved? And what could you offer me?
Yeah, no, that's a really great question. So we receive support through the National Research Council, and they're a major funder for a lot of tech entrepreneurs, especially in the early stages, because they're not often eligible for traditional financing. So you can't just kind of go to the bank with a business plan, because if you're really innovating, so building technology versus using technology, it's pretty high risk. And so banks usually aren't going to look at you. And so getting grants at that early stage is really important for these early stage startup tech companies. And so what we do is we offer a business advisory service. It's complimentary. So an entrepreneur can call our office.
That means free, yay!
Free, yay! We like free. So an entrepreneur throughout our region can kind of either call our office or visit our website, innovationisland.ca, and we have a complimentary business advisory service. And so our business advisor is Graham Truax, and I know you've met Graham before.
A few times.
And he's been there and done that, and that's really important for any innovative entrepreneur. Knowing that, how you're going to fire your best friend and how you're going to make payroll, all those pain points.
How are you going to finance your
business?
How
are you going to find a joint venture, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so he helps entrepreneurs walk through the things they need to be doing. It's not as intensive as our accelerator program, but it's more, these are some suggestions, do this, that, and the other thing, and come back and connect with me. So we offer that, and it's complimentary.
Now you also offer other services like your classes, because I have been to a few of Graham's classes. He's an excellent facilitator.
Yeah, great, thanks.
Yeah, and what is the framework of those classes? Because they really can apply to almost any kind of business.
Absolutely,
right?
Most definitely. And so what we've done is we've taken a playbook out of the tech and innovation space, right? So how innovative companies grow and scale. We've taken all those best practices and we've put together a series of workshops. So it's kind of that educational piece that's really important for entrepreneurs. We do those throughout our region, whether it's, so I got this idea, now what? So you have a minimum viable product. And then we kind of all the stages of the hard work entrepreneurs need to do, and it's applicable to anyone.
Yeah,
right?
And it builds a foundation for you to say, okay, now my next step is over here. Now my next step is over here.
Most
right?
definitely. And the way in which you scale or start a tech company is quite different than a service-based company. I mean, I think there's some core concepts there in terms of cash flow and all those things. But it's really around customer discovery, which is really core to a lot of this. So talking to your customers. We don't advocate business plans. the business model canvas, and I know you're familiar with that.
Yeah.
Catherine is a really great visual for
I would think
entrepreneurs.
Graham kind of put it that once you put a business plan together for tech and you're finished it's already redundant.
Absolutely, because you should be iterating, right?
Yeah,
Talking
yes,
to your customers
yes.
and changing your model based
Yeah.
on the feedback.
Yeah.
But it is applicable.
Yeah.
You know, with our sessions that we've done throughout the region, we've had, you know, software entrepreneurs there as well. We've also had a chicken farmer there.
Oh, neat.
Right? And so
Yeah.
she, you know, has these heritage chickens, but she applied the methodology and the concepts from the tech sector to her business. And it's really, she's really thriving and exploring other opportunities that perhaps she wouldn't have explored otherwise.
And you know, that brings me into a question that I had when Graham was doing one session on future-proofing your business.
Yes.
And one of the things that even being quite involved with the tech industry myself, I was absolutely shocked to see where we're going. Can you give us kind of an outline of where the province sits with tech and how important it is to us, even if we're just everyday people?
Most definitely, yeah. That's a super question. That's one of my favorite workshops that he does. Is future proofing, right?
Blew my mind.
Yeah, I know. It's super. So we know that tech and innovation can happen anywhere, right? The province is really focused on making sure that that technology is recognized as an economic indicator, and we know it is. So that's
it's a pretty powerful indicator.
Absolutely, it's the fastest growing sector in the province right now. So it's outperforming our traditional, you know, forestry, mining, and oil. It's surpassing those indicators. And in addition to that, the wages are 66% higher.
Wow.
So when you think of a tech company that's perhaps in Campbell River and the economic impact and the multiplier effect that has for the community is quite significant. For every one tech job, it generates 4 other jobs in communities.
Whoa.
So it's quite significant. And also knowing that even though we say tech can happen anywhere, it's not really a level playing field.
And why is that?
So, you know, we really want our entrepreneurs to grow and stay in place.
Right.
Because if they're staying
If
here...
you're training them and sending them to Silicon Valley,
absolutely,
we don't win.
most definitely. So what I mean by the statement is it's not a level playing field is that a lot of these entrepreneurs, the rules are a little bit different, right? Because they need 3 core things to really stay in community and thrive. Talent, capital, and access to customers, whether that's through transportation. And so when we look at communities like Victoria, Vancouver, and Kelowna, they're thriving. They're tech hubs. They have this incredible, you know, ecosystem around them. And I can speak to what I mean by that in a few minutes, Catherine. But it's a little bit different for entrepreneurs that choose to live in beautiful communities like Campbell River or, you know, Qualcom Beach or Nanaimo. The access to talent is a little bit harder. The access to capital, it's not as easy, right? Because we don't have that angel network that's as sophisticated or well supported as other larger city centers. So for us, as an organization supporting entrepreneurship through tech and innovation, we need to kind of pull on we call it the power of the network.
Oh, yeah.
Because we have this whole network in the province that we can surround the entrepreneur with to grow and scale. So that's kind of what I mean by level playing field. We need to kind of, we're still doing it, but we need to push it a bit more.
And you've got some pretty strong successes under your belt already, have you not?
Yeah, and you know, I think it's just the quality of the companies that we're seeing, right?
Now, where does we stand in terms of Vancouver Island and your region? Because you're not just Vancouver Island.
That's right, yes.
You've got a pretty diverse region here. I mean, geographically, it's really spread out.
Absolutely, yeah.
So how are you performing in terms of, in comparison, say, to other regions in the province?
Yeah, great question. So for us, when we talk about tech and innovation, it's a horizontal, right? It touches.
What does that mean?
So it's very much, it touches every sector across the province, whether it's, you know, forestry or aquaculture or transportation.
Give me an example of something that touches forestry.
Yeah, okay. So there is a innovative company that's based in Campbell River, and they're creating advanced manufacturing to increase efficiencies in the forestry industry. So when we think of tech, we often think it's like software, and it's not.
Yeah, it's not.
It's hardware as well. And I think this is where our competitive advantage is, because we don't have the population in our region, or one community just doesn't have the infrastructure yet to really stand up and say, we are a tech hub. We're really good at this.
Yeah.
But I think as a region, we have the ability to look at innovations that are touching those traditional sectors that are really the fabric of our region, whether that's forestry or aquaculture. So for us, it's multiple things.
So we're not looking at tech as being games.
No.
Or virtual reality.
That's part of it.
That's part of it.
But there's also amazing innovations taking place in robotics and software development. In addition to that, there are some health sciences and new innovations taking place that are really going to increase, the health of our communities through new innovations in medicine. So those are really impactful innovations. But again, it takes a little bit more of work to have these companies stay and grow in place.
And they want to stay and grow in place, do they not?
Absolutely, yeah.
I've noticed that the Comox Valley is seems to be gaining an awful lot of high-level tech professionals that are choosing to move there specifically because they don't have to live in the big city.
Absolutely.
Are you seeing that migration all over our region?
Yeah, most definitely. I think, everyone is playing the lifestyle card, and so we need to be mindful that our friends in the U.S. and Israel and Africa are playing lifestyle card plays. So if we're going to kind of track this influx of entrepreneurs, they'll come here for lifestyle, but that's a small percentage of it. Yeah. Really, really small. Their customers are often global. Right. They're often not local. So they can, live and work anywhere. And they're also not the 2030s that our larger city centers see. They're often really, 30s, 40s. We have a large population of PhDs in our roster, which is quite phenomenal.
I certainly have noticed that.
Yes. So
I haven't met so many physicists as I've met through you guys.
It's quite remarkable to have that significant talent choosing to be in our region. I love stories when people move here. It's like, isn't there a zero missing off that price of the house? And they are coming here. Yeah. But lifestyle is just a small percentage of that. When I talked about building out the ecosystem and talent and capital and access to customers. And so when an innovative company is choosing to move here, they need to make sure that they have the talent that's going to help them grow and scale. And for us, it's apples and oranges when we're looking at Vancouver, Victoria, or Kelowna. They have kind of the engine moving ahead in terms of the tech ecosystem. They have those really important support services in place, like accounting and legal, which are recognized.
That's important for the tech sector specifically, right?
Most definitely, most definitely. And so we surround the entrepreneur with the right accounting and legal services. So when they're getting to a stage where they have a term sheet presented from a potential angel investor, that the legal and the accounting service providers recognized, and it's like, we know that they're solid. So the term sheet or the company is going to be really kind of clean or already, ready to go.
And it's a really different kind of an industry. I've noticed certainly with the people that I've come in contact with that it feels different being inside their companies because there's not necessarily set hours for them to work. Sometimes they work in the middle of the night. Yeah. I've been to some offices where there's dogs and cats and kids running around in the office and they're playing basketball in the corner.
For sure.
And, the whole Google thing where the idea is to be innovative and to be creative within the structure of what you're doing.
Most definitely, and creativity is such an important component in the tech and innovation space.
And don't you find, Paris, that we have a real creative population here?
Oh, it's phenomenal.
Is it the fresh air that does it?
It must be the coastal air. Yeah, I think it is.
That's kind of neat.
Yeah, it is. It's really good. We have a lot of work to do yet. I mean, we're still very young in terms of comparison to our other city centers. And I know for you, Catherine, you've been to Vancouver to some of our tech events. And so, as smaller communities, we kind of operate here. And it's not until we kind of get out and look at where the bar actually is in the tech sector. It's way up here. Yeah. And so there's work to do and opportunities, and that's where we come in and we support communities. we add value to what's already in place, and we bring a different lens and a different kind of perspective about what's actually required to create some technology and innovation capacity in communities.
And you have a great deal of resources to fall back on also, do you not?
We do. We call it the power of the network. Through the BC Innovation.
Paris knows everybody.
So through the BC Innovation Council, which is our really our core supporter and program, we meet quarterly with any other similar organization to ourselves throughout the province, and we share best practices. And there's this whole network of executives in residence and entrepreneurs in residence like Graham with incredible domain expertise and a network of connections that is unsurpassed. And so we can tap into that with an entrepreneur. So for example, we were working with an entrepreneur here in Campbell River that's in the aerospace industry. And so we were helping them with the initial stages of their innovation. But then we thought, you know what? They need a very specific level of expertise. So we tap into our network and we make a few phone calls and say, listen, we're working with this entrepreneur. They need, expertise in this. Can we make a connection? And so, gone are those days when you had to be in Victoria, Vancouver, or Kelowna to kind of really be an entrepreneur and get some stuff done.
You have to create your own connections.
Yeah, it's just we kind of make that flow through. So if there's somebody in clean tech that's building some really cool innovations, we can call our friends at Foresight and say, listen, can you help this entrepreneur? Or Wavefront if they're doing mobile applications. Or Agritech, SRC Tech is based in Mission. So we have this incredible network behind us, and that's really important to make note of.
I think that's important in just about any business, but it seems to be uber important.
Yeah, nicely played. Yeah. So let's talk about that uber comment, because your original question was around the future proofing workshop, and I want to circle back on that because I think it's really it's a concept that we need to be kind of wrapping our heads around. So we know of Uber.
Yes.
They're really just disrupting traditional transportation.
They are.
But they don't own any fleets of any sort.
They don't actually own anything except for a website.
Most
Is
definitely.
that correct?
Yes. And so then there's Airbnb.
And half the world by now.
And half the world. And Airbnb.
Same
right?
thing.
Same thing. Disrupting the way in which we put heads in beds.
Yes.
And they own no properties.
Yes.
So when we're talking about disruptive technologies, we need to be mindful that innovation and the next kind of wave of digital innovations are really going to change the way in which business is done. And so I know that's a concern for many traditional industries, that we're going to lose talent, or we're going to have to downsize, or it's going to kind of wipe out the whole middle range of companies. But if we look at innovation and technology as a way to increase efficiencies, to increase our competitive advantage globally, that kind of changes the conversation.
Yeah, it sure does.
So an example is Canva. Do you know about Canva?
I do.
I
do.
Would.
I'm very confused.
You got the finger on the pulse, Canva.
Yeah.
So, we work with entrepreneurs that are building technology, not necessarily using technology.
Right.
They need to be commercializing or doing something really cool. Changes the way in which things are done. And so Canva is a startup out of Silicon Valley, San Francisco based, and they were a group of web developers and graphic designers that got together and said, you know what, gone are the days when we could charge somebody $1,000 for a logo.
Yeah.
Innovation and technology is disrupting those traditional industries. So how about we pool all our talent and create a new software platform where it's a freemium model. Anybody can kind of go on to our website, look at the incredible graphics and images we have to create their own posters, business cards, applications for their business, high resolution,
you can do
incredible
anything with
imaging,
Canva. Yeah.
and then If they want something a little more sophisticated, they pay a bit more. And so for them to come together and recognize the industry was changing, now Canva is one of their big backers is Guy Kawasaki, who's one of the first, Apple engineers. Guy Kawasaki. We use a lot.
Musk. I don't know who they are.
Exactly. So, and he's one of their big backers. And what's happened? They're making more money now as CEOs of Canva than they ever were as kind of graphic designers. So when we're talking about kind of the disruptive opportunities for innovation, that's where we kind of need to kind of look at those opportunities, because mobile applications in digital revolution is kind of happening, and it's coming,
and it's
kind of scary,
very fast. Oh yeah,
yes,
it is very scary. I remember seeing the graph that Graham had up on the stage, and everything goes on a bell curve, and we're right there. So we've got this massive curve coming up very, very quickly. And I wonder how that's going to affect your common worker. Like if you've got that much innovation happening that quickly, how is that going to affect the average Joe?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really great question. Well, in the tech sector, things happen exponentially, right? So a company can go from here to here quickly.
Very, very quickly.
Not with a lot, here it's not a level playing field. If you're in the valley, they'll throw money at you and can grow quickly. So, but it's exponential, and I think that's the concept that really it's hard for folks to wrap their head around.
It is, because
the scalability.
The scalability, because it's not, you go from local where you make your structure happen to the global where all of a sudden, wham.
Yeah, absolutely.
Catch on and you're gone.
And if you're innovating.
Viral.
Yes, and if you're innovating, you are an export and a global company from day one. Your customers often aren't local. And so when you have the globe as your marketplace, it's pretty impactful.
That's right.
And so one of the workshops videos that we show, and I don't know if you saw this, was it's a YouTube video, Humans Need Not Apply. And it talks about very much the kind of the digital revolution and how automation is impacting traditional sectors. So one of two things will happen to a person when they see that video. It's either they're going to get terrified or they're going to look at an opportunity. And a lot of the folks that we work with see opportunities within that. And I think, especially in our education system, we're entering a time when our future leaders and the next generation of innovators and entrepreneurs and CEOs and business owners, this is the first generation that are going to be actually plugged in mobile. They will never remember a time when they had to be sitting by the TV, turning the knob on. I remember those days.
Like my girlfriend's 14-year-old said the other day, what's a record?
So that's really going to change the way in which our communities grow and the opportunities that are presented.
Because they're already thinking
They're
that
already
way.
thinking that.
They're already thinking that.
And so, I mean, we're super excited as in the tech sector, seeing that coding and programming is being peppered throughout the K-12 system. And I think there's a way to go.
So you're actually starting little children in coding?
Absolutely.
Like we're talking 6-year-olds?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Really?
Because they've grown up in a time where they get that.
Oh my God. I couldn't even imagine looking at a 7-year-old and saying, gee, can you code this for me?
Absolutely, yeah. And it's just like another language, whether it's French or Spanish.
Oh yeah.
Coding and programming is really going to be core to the growth of any company. I mean, if you're in business now, you're a tech company.
Yeah.
That's kind of just the way it is.
That is. You have no choice with that. Yeah, which is great. I mean, that's where we're moving, and that's where we should be moving.
I agree.
So is there anything that if you were to say something to our community, which is just starting, I mean, we're just babies in the industry, and just babies in the networking also. So if you were to say something to Campbell River or the North Island in general, because let's face it, Quadra and Cortez are right there with us. I think there's some hidden gems happening on Quadra.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. What would you say to them?
Yeah, I think for us it's really about building community capacity, right? So we have a very specific area of expertise, and we're here to help communities. Right, that's our biggest thing. So call to action would be, we're here, we'd love to deliver some workshops, which is really important for entrepreneurs. Yeah. In addition to that, collaboration and partnerships are so important, and building relationships within that, and using us as a network for that to happen. We also have the BC Tech Summit that's coming up, and shout out to everybody in Campbell River, March 14th and 15th.
I'm going,
is a BC Tech Summit, and that is a showcase of innovation taking place throughout the province. And Innovation Island and many of the entrepreneurs in our region are going to be there showcasing their innovations, because we want to make sure that there's a spotlight shone on the innovations taking place in our region. So we'd love Campbell River folks to come to that to get an idea of really what's happening.
And you don't have to be in the industry
you
to
don't,
attend either,
absolutely,
do you?
no, because we all need to be aware of what's happening.
Yes.
You know, and where the bar is, right? We're here, the bar's here.
Yes.
So how do we get there? And we're happy to help.
Right on.
Yeah.
Good. So thank you very much,
Oh my gosh,
Paris.
thank you, Catherine. It was such an
Yes,
incredible opportunity.
and I'm really glad we kind of coordinated
We do,
our
I
outfits.
know.
Yeah, we did that very well.
It's perfect, yeah.
So Catherine from GoCampbellRiver.com and meeting with Paris Gaudet. She is the executive director. I have a hard time with that, for Innovation Island. So check them out online, you guys. They've got a great website, and participate in the stuff that they've got on there, because let me tell you, you won't regret it. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Catherine.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Well, thank me, thank you.